All right, Algebra 2. If you were absent for day 5 inverses, sorry, I apologize, day 6 inverses part 2. This is the video notes that you need. So we're going to go through these directions. It says, number 1, we're going to change and rewrite f of x as y equals if needed. So whatever it is, f of x, anything other than y, like e of x, a of x. Go ahead and just change it into a y. So that's our first step. From here, our second step says we're going to switch. So we changed, we switch. So it says circle x and y and then rewrite switching their positions. So now I'm going to rewrite my equation as x equals 3y minus 2. So I switched and I rewrote it, changing their positions. So my next step is to solve. And so when I solve, it says it is helpful to start with the y on the left. So what that means is we're just going to go ahead and switch sides. So I'm going to put the 3y minus 2 on the left and the equals x on the right. That's really helpful for people. So my solving steps. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a box around my y term because I'm solving for y and I want to isolate the y. So my first step is to add 2 to both sides. So now let's rewrite. We have 3y equals x plus 2. And then my last step is to isolate the y. We're going to divide both sides by 3. And so there's a couple ways you can write your answer. We could write it as the inverse of y. And actually, I might use the inverse of f of x because I started with the inverse of f of x. So that might be how you might see your answer if that's what you started with. So we'll just switch it back. The inverse of f of x could be equal to, and you could see x plus 2 over 3. And you also could see it simplified further, just dividing the x by 3, which really makes our slope 1/3 x, and then the y-intercept as 2 over 3. So either one of those answers is correct. Okay, as long as you recognize that they're the same in case you're taking a multiple choice test and the test writer simplifies a little further. All right, let's look at number 2. Oh, well, let's look at our answers. So our checklist. So let's check this off. We just solved. We wrote it as the inverse of f of x. So my last step is to verify. So when we verify, one method is to check it in your calculator. And so I just grabbed my cell phone and I'll just lay my Desmos right here. That might be an easy way to show you how to check it. I'm going to type in my original. So I've got f of x is equal to, and my original was 3x minus 2. And then I'm going to type in one of my answers. Now, I've never typed it in as an inverse symbol. That's interesting. I usually just type it in as another equation. Maybe we'll try that sometime. But for now, I'm just going to, you don't even have to type the whole f of x. You can leave them both as y. So I'm just going to type in my 2 equations, and I'm going to compare them. Let's see. Division. On top, we've got x plus 2. Oops. And then on the bottom, 3. So I just use the first one, the unsimplified one. Okay, so I'm looking at these 2 graphs. If I know that the line of reflection is y equals x, I can kind of look and I can see that the original is reflected over the y equals x line of reflection.
Wednesday night, parent night.
Also, one thing I can do is I can check my tables. So if I pull up a table, gear table, if I'm looking at this point like -1, -5, 0, -2, I can go down to my inverse and look at those same points. So, oops, let's go back to this one. There we go. And so I can look and see look up my points and see them switch. So I had 0, -2, and I forget the other one we were looking at, -1, -5. Okay, so let's look at these two. I do have the -2, 0, and then let's look up -5. So this is -2, 0, which is switched. And if I type in -5, I get -1. So I can tell that those points are inverses. So just a way to check. All right, let's look at number 2. So number 2, first we're going to change f of x to y equals. All right, so we're going to look at number 2. We're changing f of x to y equals 2x plus 3 over 5. And then we're going to circle our x and y. And then we're going to switch them. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as x equals 2y plus 3 over 5. So I'm just changing my variable, switching position. And then it's easier, we said, if we move the x to the other end. So I'm going to write it as 2y plus 3 over 5 equals x. And it just helps people, it's a little easier for them to move things from left to right. So I want to isolate my 2y, but I can't do that until I get it out of this fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. Right, so my 5 over 5 cancels out and becomes 1. And on this side, I'm going to have 5 times x, which is 5x. Okay, so now I can start kind of isolating my y. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Here, and I'll come kind of over here. All right, so from here, let's rewrite. I have 2y equals 5x minus 3. And then my last step is to divide by 2. So it's like I'm kind of rearranging it when I write my inverse. So an answer I could write would be the inverse of f of x is equal to, so I could write it as just this fraction, 5x minus 3 over 2, or I could kind of split it and simplify further and write it as 5 over 2x minus 3 over 2. So you could see that answer both ways. So it could be either one of these. All right, so the last one is a U-do. So you go ahead and try the U-do, and then maybe just you can stop the video and then check your answer. Okay, and then I had a little teacher check here because following this lesson we have a quiz. So what I'm checking for is that you've done all of your notes. If you have all of your notes up until this point, you would be ready for your quiz. So let me pause this, and you work the problem and then check your answer. All right, so go ahead and check your answer. The first thing we did was change f of x to y, and then we switched sides. So the part with the y in it is on the left. Then, because the whole expression isn't in a fraction, right? This is separate, the 1/2 y and the minus 3. I went ahead and added 3. And then from there, I want to get rid of this 1/2, so multiply by the denominator, multiply both sides by 2. And so you don't really have to multiply. Some test writers write their answer like this. But when they have a multiplied number, I notice normally they'll put it in the front, so just watch for that so it doesn't look weird. They just move the number that's multiplied to the front, so it looks more like a slope in point-slope form. Or sometimes they'll distribute the 2 through the parentheses, and then it would be 2x plus 6. All right, Remember, your quiz tomorrow is open notes. See you in class.